Millennials and Gen Z are the first U.S. generations to be worse off than their parents. A few years ago, there was a dismissive retort that millennials were using to their parents' generation, to the baby boomers' generation. It was okay boomer, because the boomer generation was dismissive of new struggles that our generation faces, struggles like student debt, climate anxiety, or housing inaffordability. The baby boomer generation was saying to millennials, just work harder or buy fewer lattes, that as if those were the causes of our generation's lack of wealth accumulation. Millennials entered the job market at a particularly bad time during the Great Recession of 2008. U.S. youth unemployment peaked in 2010 at 19%, so many graduates found underpaid or part-time jobs. And these had scarring effects for many people through their 20s and 30s. And that creates less wealth accumulation over an entire career. Home ownership, as a result, has been delayed, and all sorts of other secondary effects have taken place as a result of this. By the 2010s, by the late 2010s, this started to change as the job market improved. But a lot of millennial households never truly fully recovered from this financial stressor. Gen Z is a little different. Gen Z faces even stiffer headwinds than millennials: tighter job markets, tighter housing markets, larger student debt, inflation, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so as a result, Gen Z is also really struggling. They had a easier job market to enter, but a lot of the struggles that the millennial generation, Gen Z, also does. So what does the data say? Let's just put a quick caveat. These don't cut universally. Higher income, college educated millennials and Gen Z some of them are doing quite well. And the struggle is much worse off on lower educated and lower income groups among millennials and Gen Z. In general, we have stagnant wages with rising costs. Wages just have not kept up with the rate of inflation. Meanwhile, the cost of living, the cost of housing, and healthcare and education continue to skyrocket. So the average price of a U.S. home in the U.S. is now 6x the average millennial income, compared to in the 1970s, it was only 3x. College tuition has increased by 1,200% since the 1980s, which has led to record levels of student debt that stays with you forever, that you can't default out of. We also have increasing prices related to healthcare, premiums, copays, deductibles, etc. As a result, we have just far less wealth accumulation. Millennials and Gen Z are accumulating far less wealth at every milestone relative to the baby boomer generation. According to the Fed, by age 40, millennials are holding just 80% of the wealth that the Gen X, the generation just before us, held at that same age. Home ownership is at an all-time highest age. So all these baby boomers, all of these millennials and Gen Z are just not buying houses at the same time in their lives that the baby boomer generation did. If you are someone who has been watching the stock market over the last 2 decades, you would say, well, the stock market has grown at record levels. Didn't the millennial and Gen Z take advantage of that? Well, the truth is, while millennial and Gen Zs did take advantage of the stock market gains, we have less wealth. We don't have as much money put into the market at the same rate that the baby boomers were able to in their time. Let's talk about debt. Student debt has become a financial burden, a defining financial burden for our generation. The average student debt for a graduate last year was $38,000 compared to almost nothing when the baby boomers graduated. And as a result, student debt, according to many surveys, is the number one reason why families are postponing marriage, children, buying a home. They're either happening later or they're just not happening at all. I think it's important to note that there were two great disruptors in the American economy, and that had devastating effects for our generation. For millennials, it was the 2008 Great Recession. For Gen Z, it's the COVID-19 pandemic. Both had devastating effects over economic opportunities and economic growth. Most of us are debt burdened, meaning that not only are we not owning homes, but we are contributing a significant amount of our take-home income to housing. And so the numbers just confirm it. The numbers confirm that millennials are struggling, Gen Z is struggling. Millennials control just 9% of the US wealth, despite being the largest generation in the workforce. At the same age, boomers controlled 21%, and Gen X 17%. Millennials 9%. 70% of Gen Z and millennials believe they're going to be worse off than their parents. And while the ink is not dry, this seems to be happening. It's reflecting both reality and perception. And this is not just an economic gap, it's a generational shift where the American dream, the idea that upward mobility, that if you work hard, you'll do better than your parents, is just not happening. And that is leading to a disbelief in American democracy, in capitalism. It's leading to an increase in mental health issues as people are anxious over their financial futures.